Welcome to the Small Business Sessions podcast from Enterprise Nation's Business Connected training program and our partners Vodafone Business, Constant Contact, Dropbox and JP Morgan. In this week's episode, I'm joined by Marnie Swindells, founder of boxing club brand Bronx and winner of Series 17 of BBC TV's The Apprentice. Marnie started boxing at the age of 17 and dreamed of opening her own club. She did just that in February 2023 when she launched her business in South East London and is going for growth with the help of the £250,000 investment she won from Lord Sugar on the BBC TV show. During our conversation, we discuss Marnie's love for boxing, what it's really like to appear on The Apprentice, the experience of working with Lord Sugar, and her tips for business success. Let's get started. Well, Marnie, thank you so much for joining me. Looking forward to our chat.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. So take me back to the beginning. Take me back. How did boxing first happen for you? How did you first get into that?
Well, I'm not naturally athletic. I wouldn't say I'm naturally sporty, but there was something about boxing that appealed to me, and I naturally gravitated towards it when a leaflet went around my school inviting people to join the local boxing club. And that was at a time when it was known as a boys' club. So there was no women involved. Pre-2012 Olympics, when women were allowed to box for the first time. So it was very much still a circus act, seeing women in the ring. But nevertheless, I think there was something pent up and built up inside of me. And as soon as I started boxing, it was like the clouds parted and it all just made sense.
Right.
And I've loved it ever since. And I've just sort of moved now through different capacities to where I am.
Yeah. When you, like you said, it was very much a boys' club back then. What was it like then for you? But going to that gym the first time, what kind of reaction did you get from probably mostly the boys that were hanging out there?
They were hesitant, they were resistant, they were unsure. But I think it was always more of an issue for everybody else than it was for me. I tended to walk into the room just as Marnie and try to take in the characteristics that would be respected regardless of being a man or a woman. So I went in there, I worked hard, I fought hard, I did all the things that would be expected of a good boxer, and slowly it became second my gender, and first and foremost I was just Marnie. And I think that's a good attitude to take through life, especially as a woman in business. It's the same principles, that you let your character lead, let your integrity lead, and let all those sort of characteristics about you come second.
Do you think the seeds were sown then for you wanting to start a gym back then? Did that ever enter your mind? Once you got into boxing, did you have sort of dreams of thinking, you know what, I'd quite like to run one of these places myself?
It didn't at that moment, but I've always been a dreamer. I'm the person that would sit in the classroom at school and imagine, if this was my room, I'd put this there and I'd do that. So it wasn't as obvious at that point, but very soon after, when I came to London and began boxing, I began becoming very aware and observant about how the local boxing club was run, and thinking, if only we did this and if only they did that, and just sort of imagining if things were different, how it would go. And that's when I started to really believe that perhaps I have a knack for business, and perhaps I can see opportunities that maybe other people can't see. And if you can capitalize on those opportunities, I think that's what makes someone great at business.
Before that, though, you became a barrister, didn't you? So you actually went down quite a different barrister versus boxing.
Yes.
The boxing barrister, maybe that's the thing.
It has been a very long and winding road.
Yeah.
But I think that's why I'm such a huge advocate for boxing, is because I owe so many incredible things that have come my way from the boxing gym. So I was 21, I'd just finished uni. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And I was in the boxing gym, hitting the bags, and the lady next to me, I was just venting to her, saying, I'm lost, I don't know what's next for me. And she said, I'm a barrister, why don't you come and shadow me? So I did, again, an opportunist. I thought, why not? Went there with her and was just in awe. She just walked into the room and had such presence, and the way she controlled the room. And I just thought, I want to do what you do. So I did. I went back, took the bar, was a barrister for a while, and just found myself being pulled and gravitating back to boxing. By that point, the ambition to be a fighter that flame had sort of died out. And for me at that point, it was about business and making the most of what I really truly believed I could make happen.
Did the gym did it happen before The Apprentice? Did it? You started it, hadn't you, before you went on the show? So it already existed, didn't it, before you entered the show? So how did you go about that then? Finding the location, setting it up, the brand. How did that all happen?
Well, I say it happened. It happened to some extent. I had, again, in my process of daydreaming, whilst I was doing my legal work between cases, I'd find myself on Rightmove, just sort of scrolling through these empty properties, these commercial buildings, thinking if I had that, I would do this, and sketching little drawings of what I could see in my head. And then just by chance, a neighbour that lived on my street said, I'm working on a building at the minute, and I think it would make a incredible boxing gym. He knew I was involved in boxing. He had no idea I had this ambition to find a space. So we went and looked at it, and it was horrific. It was covered in sewage, asbestos in all the walls. It was a basement. It was dark. It was dank. There was mice floating in the water. It was really as bad as it gets.
Right.
But all I could see was the potential of it. It had these high ceilings and there was brickwork, and I thought, this is gonna be beautiful. And I just couldn't let go. This was in 2019. Couldn't let go of this idea of, once you've already seen it in your head, you can't unsee it. So then it was just a case of, how do I bridge the gap between what I can see and making it happen? Which is then when I started writing a business plan, started pitching it to gain investment, to gain funding. Had to pitch it to the council because I was a 24-year-old without a clue in the world, asking for a 20-year lease on a building that was going to take nearly $500,000 to fix. So it was a lot of faith, a lot of belief, and a lot of just not taking no for an answer. Just keep seeing what you can see and not being veered off that path.
So was The Apprentice then applying for that? Was that was part of that? Well, this is a novel way to get investment. I'll go on TV and get it from Lord Sugar.
So I'd raised just short of 400,000 prior to going on The Apprentice through all the work that I'd done. We received grants and loans from Sport England, London Marathon Trust, Sporting Assets, who really backed the idea. They backed the idea of creating a business, but a business that did good things, because traditionally they would only invest in charities and CICs. So it was novel for them. We were all taking this big risk, but it felt exciting. It felt like something was happening. And then one day, watching the older series of The Apprentice, and at the end of every episode, he says, if you think you've got what it takes, apply now. And I thought, you know what? I do think I've got what it takes. I will apply. So I did. I applied and could never have imagined it would have gone this far. It was one step after another, and it led me all the way here. So, yeah.
So tell us, I know you get asked this all the time, but tell us about the show. We know more happens than we see in that hour every week. What is it like being on the show? How real are the tasks? All the questions that people
all the juicy stuff.
All the juicy stuff that everybody wants to know.
Well, it is very real. The tasks are taken very seriously. We are limited by time, by sometimes options available to us. So the tasks are very fair. So in that sense, I think Lord Sugar really is testing how you act in those moments, how you interact with your team. Do you take the lead? Are you someone that pushes yourself to the front, or do you just sort of sit back and let life happen to you? So the whole time, I think he's made aware by Lord Sugar, by Karen Brady and by Tim Campbell, what's happening on task, and he then uses that to decipher who he wants to keep taking forward. But honestly, the filming of The Apprentice will be forever in my highlight reel of life. It was incredible. The opportunities to just build a whole business in a day, from branding to marketing to pitching. It was surreal. You'd wake up one morning, get told to pack your suitcase, and the next thing you know, you're in Dubai on a yacht giving a corporate away day to Mona Katan, the founder of Huda Beauty. It was nothing short of phenomenal.
Right, okay. What were some of your well, there's one of your favourite moments, but what were some of your other favourite tasks that you did on the show that you can remember?
Well, in the moment, they weren't my favourite tasks.
No,
in the moment, they were incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, the ones that really took you by surprise. So being whisked off to Dubai, and not in a glamorous way, just that idea of the pressure of it all. The more high the pressure, the more I latched onto it. So I really enjoyed the cartoon task. the second week we had to create a children's cartoon.
Yes, I remember that.
To be honest with you, if I could give it all up and paint for the rest of my life, I would. So
Okay.
the idea of drawing that cartoon and creating a character, I really enjoyed.
How much, it does, all these kind of shows, there is, some people say, oh, it's not real business, it's all made for TV. But, what are your thoughts on it as a business show, take away from the entertainment? Is it teaching, genuine business skills?
Yeah, I don't think the candidates get enough credit for how business minded they are. But in the process of going on to the show, they're looking at you as what you are for entertainment. But Lord Sugar's business advisors are in the interview process, so they really are checking whether the business is viable, and they're not looking to put in candidates who are going to make a mockery of business and of Lord Sugar. So it is taken very seriously. I think all the candidates are very astute, despite what the edit would make you believe. We are made to look foolish. But I also think, to answer your question about how much the show finds out whether people are really good at business, I think part of business, and what's so beautiful about business, is that it requires you to be all kinds of people. It requires you to be the mathematician, the artist, the creative, and have all these different elements of your persona, and the tasks really bring that out. It's not sort of a quiz show. It's not just testing your intellect. It's testing, and I believe this is how Lord Sugar picks his winner. It's just testing your character, and I think above all else, it does get that out of people.
Big thanks to Vodafone Business for sponsoring this podcast. VHub from Vodafone Business has supported over 1 million SMEs, providing expert advice on a range of topics that matter to small business owners everywhere. Access VHub for a free one-to-one consultation with an expert advisor and get support tailored to your business. Book your free consultation with a VHub advisor today. Find more details at vodafone.co.uk/VHub. But why do you think you won? What was it he saw in you that year that made you the winner, do you think?
I think I was very honest. I was very true to form. There were moments when I definitely dropped the bag, and I owned up to that. There were moments when I called people out because I really believed that they were in the wrong. And I think there's a respect that comes with honesty and integrity, because business plans can change, climates can change, things can alter, but heart and character, that remains forever. So I think that's what you need in a business partner. By many people's accounts, there were other more credible businesses in the sense that they had been proven concepts that have been trading for a long time, profit making. I was a riskier option for Lord Sugar. So I can only believe that it came down to what I as a person had to offer, and the fact that I did put a lot of effort into that business plan to try and answer all his questions.
I guess though, the fact, like you said, you'd already raised 400,000 already. Yeah. So I guess, that indicated to him that other people had seen value in the business. I suppose that helped, I guess, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was definitely a push in the right direction, that despite being a risk that we haven't started trading yet, there are people backing it. There's excitement around it. There's something is happening that's worth looking into.
So you got that 250 grand. What did you spend it on?
So the first 400,000, just short of 400,000 pounds that I raised, was spent renovating one floor. The 250,000 pounds was spent renovating a second floor. So we have literally taken Bronx to new heights, and we now occupy 2 floors in the same building.
And how much involvement he's your business partner, like you said, which must be a great thing to be able to say. But how involved is he? Like, how often do you see him? Like, how involved in the business does he get? He
has been really, really helpful. I can't speak highly enough of how much of a presence he has had. And if not via him directly, his team have been there when I need, very forthcoming. And I have almost daily contact with his team. He has visited the gym twice. So for a man who's so busy and has so many commitments, and who I expected nothing really of, for him to go out of his way and travel and come and see me and see what we're doing for himself, I'm so grateful for. And I don't think that's at all what people expect. I think people think it's a show and it's a myth and it's all just sort of smoke and mirrors. But truly, I think he wants to see young people do well. Not just young people, but young businesses and people starting out do well. And I probably sees a bit of himself in that.
Right. Has he given you any advice? What advice, some of his tips has he given you for running the business?
One thing that really sticks out to me, I asked him directly once about firing someone and how you handle that. I said, you're an expert. You tell me, how do you approach
Just
it?
point at them and
how do you
kick them out of the room.
I didn't go so harsh. How do you know when the time is right to have those difficult conversations? Yeah. And his advice was to follow your nose, trust your gut. And that's also the exact wording he used when he put me through to the final. And that has very much resonated with me because I'm a classic overthinker. So I'll make one decision and I'll question myself and wonder. And there's this constant back and forth of what the right thing to do is. So I think sometimes if you can sit and just in your gut really truly know what you should do, I think that's a powerful tool to master, which I think has got him this far. I don't think it's by chance. I think he's incredibly intuitive and exceptionally good at reading people. He could see straight through people in that boardroom. There was nowhere to hide. There was no amount of vocabulary or articulation of words that you could use to sort of bamboozle him. He could read you like an X-ray straight through.
With it though, that's not the traditional way to raise investment and to get. So with it comes, you've got this high profile of you as a business, and there's more eyes on you than probably there would be, if you hadn't been on TV. Yep. So how has that been running the business kind of in the public eye now as a, I guess as a celebrity from the show?
That has been difficult. It has been difficult. It has cost me a lot personally, where I have really just put the business at the absolute forefront of my mind, and I've sacrificed a lot in my personal life, missed out on a lot of things to just keep that ship afloat, while the other ships around me have sank. So it has been difficult. You feel like you're under constant scrutiny. Most businesses in their early days make mistakes, and they take hits and they have losses, and it's such an inevitable thing of learning and, failing forward, and you grow from it and you learn from it. And I don't feel like I have the luxury of making mistakes. I feel like I have to get it right the first time. I have to be perfect. Can't slip on any banana skins while everyone's watching.
So there is a lot of conversation around women raising finance, and they aren't raising as much finance as men, and encouraging more female entrepreneurs. So what are your thoughts on female entrepreneurship in the UK?
Yeah, I think there is notoriously a gap between men's ability to raise finance and women's ability to raise finance for businesses. And the statistics show the evidence is that women find it notoriously more challenging. Why that is, I'm not sure. And I can only speak from my own personal experience. And going back to those days when I was walking into a boxing gym that I categorically did not belong in, I try and use that feeling to apply to every other element of business. So whether it's raising finance, whether it's a board meeting with Lord Sugar, all these places that you might feel uncomfortable, you might feel that there is already a mountain against you. My biggest piece of advice would be to look at what you offer. Look at what you offer as a person first and foremost, and let the idea of being female slip into the background. And that's always worked for me. That's always helped me confidently navigate what I'm looking to achieve. And it's almost like it becomes an item in the periphery of the conversation. So Lord Sugar hasn't invested in me because I'm female, nor would he have not invested in me because I'm female. I think it would be about what I have to offer. And the more I can center my focus on that, the more that becomes the thing at stake. If I lead with being a female entrepreneur and that being the most important feature about me, then I think I'm doing myself a huge disservice for all of the other incredible things that I can bring to the table as Marnie.
Brilliant. That's great. Exactly. So what are your plans? Say we're talking again.
A holiday.
A holiday. Yeah, that's true. That's a very good answer. Best answer I've had for this question. But yeah, say we were talking in 5 years' time, like where do you hope Bronx? Will there be more Bronxes? Is that, I imagine that's in the plan, is it?
Yes.
More branches?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sometimes I give myself a really hard time and I think, I should have done all this by now. I had the keys when I was 24. They should already have 5. But Lord Sugar has surprisingly been really good at like reining that back in and, you know, showing care for us not running before we can walk, understanding the business, getting the blueprint right, understanding all the nuances that could make it fail, and being clear with those before we try to expand too fast, which is probably unexpected. People would think he's hungry for growth and speed, but wants it to be done in the right way, which I'm grateful for, because left to my own devices, I probably would be trying to sprint right now.
Yep. And I guess running a physical business, you know, we talk a lot about digital, but running a physical business in the economy we're in is tough, isn't it? You know, being on the street and everything, the costs that come with that. I guess that's, you know, you've got staff and all of that, haven't you, to look after, you know? Absolutely.
I mean, we are in a digital age, and I'm sure I probably would have alleviated a lot of pressure for myself had I looked to do something digital. There is so much that comes with running a physical business. It's very burdensome. There's utility bills, which are no joke in the current climate. As you said, there's staff, there is equipment, there's assets, there's depreciation of those assets. It is a lot to contend with, but I'm also grateful for it, because I think there's something great about being in this digital age and still making sure we create these spaces, these physical spaces for people to escape that world and still come together.
And just finally, it's a classic question, but if you had to give a couple of ultimate tips for business success, you know, based on your experience or other people you spoke to, such as Lord Sugar, what would it be?
My top tips would be to trust your gut, follow your instinct, never take no for an answer. There are so many moments where people should have said no to me and I should have just sort of ran away in the opposite direction and accepted it, but never take no for an answer. When I think back, I was 24, trying to ask the council for a 20-year lease, ask people for nearly £500,000 worth of funding, and I had no credentials to do it. And had I accepted no for the first time, and had I sort of thought this mountain is too big to climb, then I would never, ever have got to where I am now. So that would be my biggest one, is if you believe in something and you can see it, really follow it, really lean into it.
Marnie, loved this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You've been watching Enterprise Nation's Small Business Sessions podcast, powered by Business Connected and our partners Vodafone Business, Constant Contact, Dropbox and JP Morgan. If you've been inspired during this episode, head to enterprisenation.com/business connected to register for webinars and to access free business training. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.